I just wanted to make this video really quickly because Second went live today and she was talking about meaningful engagement. And okay, so I'm just going to give a very quick backstory here. Once upon a time, I was an engineer. And specifically when I worked for Facebook, that was when it was like really like the biggest social media company, and they owned all of the other social media companies. There was like Instagram and WhatsApp, which were all subsidiary companies under like Facebook, or now it's called Meta, right? And Meta is a synonym off of like meta learning. So I was interested in pursuing artificial intelligence research, like going into a PhD program for AI. And my field specifically is meta learning. So I think that is why Facebook changed its name to Meta. So meta learning is a subfield of artificial intelligence, which focuses on learning how to learn. So when people are talking about machine learning models, there's like machine learning and then there's artificial intelligence, which are two different subfields. So machine learning is like basically statistical models. So like, as you know, there's a field of math, and then inside of math, there's a subfield of like statistics. And so statistics is a very old field of math that has to do with more like inference and kind of I don't want to. It's not just confidence intervals. Sometimes it has to do with probability, right? Things like that. Like how likely is it for something to occur? And so there's machine learning models, excuse me, that are like classical statistical models that can help you like understand how to do shit, right? And then there's like artificial intelligence, which is like another branch off of machine learning. And basically, with artificial intelligence, the big idea is like you can you want an algorithm, like you feed it some training data, but then the model kind of goes on its own. That's the big idea in Megan, where the model just like learns how to learn based on this training data. So you give it some training data, and then the model itself can like look at the training data and then use inference to like make predictions about quite a lot of things. But the part of meta learning is understanding how this learning happens. So you just kind of like feed a bunch of training data to a bunch of different models, and you're kind of analyzing, you're trying to understand, okay, how did it learn this thing? How did it learn this thing? That's the thing of meta learning. And it's not really a new field, it's actually a really old field, but it's just not that well detailed outside of this like two researchers. It's kind of what Jeff Clune right now I feel like is the most hip researcher. He's like a researcher who's teaching at some university in Canada, and then he's also at OpenAI, and OpenAI just got billions of dollars in funding from Sam Altman. As you guys know, Sam Altman, well, maybe you new people don't know, but Sam Altman is like my ex baby daddy. This is a whole funny story from Berkeley, but that's a whole different thing. Anyway, so how do we say? Yeah, I don't really know. I don't have like a bunch of other things to say about this, but oh, so my point to Sagan is, okay, so when I was at Facebook, basically the research project that I worked on was meaningful engagement. So I was trying to understand how people in the developing world, specifically in Africa, were using social media to build relationships online. So what I did is I looked at the way that people were interacting in social media platforms. So I got to use data from WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook. We call it platform, like the Facebook website. And so there were data scientists who were way farther along than I was. These are like PhD postdoc data scientists who built a model, and the models were around meaningful engagement. So what I was quoting earlier when I was telling you like what is meaningful engagement? Meaningful engagement is this combination of passive engagement, which is like the number of people who are watching your content and for the number of minutes. And then active engagement, which is like, are they liking, commenting, resharing, posting, things like that. And like a combination of both of those things will give you like a meaningful engagement score. So it's funny because like Sagan's sitting here, she's like, oh, are you like a manager or something? No, I'm not a manager. I'm just a researcher, but I'm also literally just a subscriber, right? Like I actually want to see Sagan's channel do well because I want to see Black creators do well. And I know that like from what I've seen from the data on the inside, like working inside a social media company and then just being like a consumer and a user of the social media companies, for some reason, Black users are not, like, they seem to be, passive engagement is very high. So people do things like, they've got these like shade accounts, stalking accounts. So it's like content that is good is being seen and it's being watched, but there's not actual meaningful engagement because users aren't keeping their like the profiles with their real names and like liking pictures and commenting. Like, that's why I comment under Olivia, right, under my real name, my real personhood, people who I really subscribe to, or even channels like people who I don't like. Like, I don't like Chris Brown, but I still comment on the videos as myself. And I share the comments that aren't necessarily positive because like there's only one platform. And so even though my comments aren't really in support of Chris Brown, it is actually improving his meaningful engagement because I'm engaging with the content. Like, I have feelings about it. So that's another point, like, I wish God would understand, where like you don't actually have to have this you don't have to have like a positive relationship with content in order for your commentary to be meaningfully engaging. Like, simply writing or liking or sharing something that touches you in some way, it doesn't have to be a positive way. Even if it's in a negative way, that's still meaningful engagement because for some reason that content like shifted your worldview, and that is meaningful. Like, when you're talking about brand partnerships, you'd be surprised. Like, if someone shares your content and they're like, you're anti, let's say you're like anti-sex worker. Okay, well, there's other brands who are pro-sex workers. So if someone shares your content and they say like, you are an anti-sex worker person, there's other brands who would actually reach out to you and be like, well, we are pro-sex worker and we would love to work with you, simply because you are on the opposite side of that. So it's like actually having an opposing side to whatever you think is popular. Like, that's what I mean. Like, every consumer, especially right now, is really making cognitive choices about how they want to spend their limited funds. And most of the time they're using those funds to promote an ideology or like a cultural something in society that benefits them culturally. And yeah, that's not like a bad thing. It's actually a cool thing. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of explain that for a minute, if that makes sense.